It's not every woman that wakes up in the morning and puts her hair on. It's quite an unusual thing to see. It's very uncommon for women to get up in the morning and put on a wig or a topper. Although a lot of women do have hair extensions, but still, there's something quite radical and extreme about a woman waking up in the morning and putting on a style. I'm very grateful to be able to do that. I think it's been a lifesaver for me as somebody who has hair loss that has increased, really dramatically increased over my adult life, to the extent where going out without hair isn't something that I would do. And there are some people now who have only ever seen me wearing hair. And that's an amazing thing to think, that they have no idea, who don't even know that I wear hair. It would never cross their mind. Of course, this is Ray by Renee of Paris. Now, what colour is this hair? It's been a really long time. Oh yes, this is Mochaccino LR, so long root. Mochaccino, what a lovely colour. I do believe I was planning on getting that Noriko wig in this colour now. Dolce. I was planning on getting Dolce in Mochaccino, rooted, and then I realised that they were no longer making it, and I never did get that birthday wig after all. Let's go downstairs. Now, we did have a lovely time yesterday evening, and even though it's the afternoon and I've only just gotten up, there's still some stuff to put away. Now, that beef in Guinness, do you know, it was completely demolished. Both men had seconds. I served it with this glorious soda bread, absolutely delicious. Not only do we have breakfast things here, but we've also got the remains of yesterday's fine dining. Nobody had any of the Guinness. And look, just a few of those really lovely sort of puff pastry chocolate cream. And I think I'm actually going to light that wood burner again in a moment. I definitely need a coffee before tackling the cleanup. And I was wondering, have any of you ever heard of TikTok coffee? It's not the most glamorous thing in the world. You get just a clear little plastic bottle. I put in normal instant coffee, ordinary sugar. I have 2 spoons. And the teeny bit of water in the bottom, like so. Put the lid on and you shake it to dilute the sugar. Pour it in your mug. That makes for a nice frothy head on your coffee. I always drink oat milk, and I put it in my electric steamer, but I steam it cold. I have a tiny little bit of hazelnut creamer just for flavour. I don't use a whole pod, and the rest is oat milk. Up, you pour that oat milk right to the top and give it a good stir. And of course it's autumn, so you have to put the lid on the house. So I woke up this morning really thinking about this event that was due to happen later on in the month. I think it's on the 13th of October. I believe that's a Sunday. My eldest daughter and I are supposed to be going to see her father. She asked me specifically to go with her. She hasn't seen him for many, many years. It's been many years of no contact. It's just what I needed. And of course, she feels really nervous about it. When I met him, there was a very big age gap between us. We met in a nightclub in the centre of London. It was called the Hellfire Club. Well, what did I expect? And he was a very handsome and a very charismatic man. He had very, very long, almost black hair all the way down his back, a full beard, and the most piercing blue eyes and pale skin. What a combination. He was very, you could describe him as gothic looking. Now, he did have a German background, so probably that colouring was that Germanic background. Well, our eyes met across the room. He approached me and we just started chatting. I was probably about 21. He was much, much older. He was around 36 or 38, something like that. And I was very easy pickings in those days, in the sense that I was not happy with my own family life. My upbringing did not make me happy. I was quite an unhappy child and teenager, etc. So I didn't really feel like I had very stable roots, you know, in my family life and in my own identity. And we all know that young people who don't really have a sense of self, don't have very good memories of their growing up years. I think I'm more comfortable like this. Can very easily fall into the wrong relationship. I think the problem there is that his outward appearance and his manner and the way that he spoke to me and behaved in the time that we were getting to know each other was actually a world away from what he was really like. But by the time I found out what he was really like, I was already living with him. And living with him and being very inexperienced and not really knowing anything about how men think, their psyche, how they operate, or anything like that, and being estranged from my family at that time, also, I put 2 and 2 together and came up with 5. I, in my immaturity, decided that having a baby would fix things and would give me the life that I wanted with him, and would make him easier to talk to and more open and more conventional. Really, of course, I should have known better, but very few young people do know better. We find out through the mistakes that we make. I'm sure that I'm not the only one who's done this. And ironically, all of those wonderful and exciting traits that he had that made me gravitate towards him and have a relationship with him are all the very things that I wanted to change about him when the relationship was underway. But there was no way that he was ever going to change. You know, looking back now as a 55-year-old woman, so much more experienced than I was, even if he wanted to change, and I believe that he did want to change, he never knew how to change. And I never knew how to help him. And the baby came, and she was an absolute delight and the blessing of my life. But the relationship just floundered more than ever after I had her. And of course, as you can guess, we ended up separating with a lot of anger and resentment, a world of misunderstanding between us. And I was just bewildered and confused as to why he couldn't change, why I was behaving like I was behaving. The whole thing was a disaster. And I moved out. And in time, I started a new relationship. But of course, I had a lot of problems with him, even after separating. He wanted to see his daughter, of course, but I felt that when he saw his daughter, he wasn't really being responsible. And when she became old enough to express her own opinions, she also eventually expressed to me that she no longer wanted to visit him anymore. It was just a whole mess of crossed wires and lack of communication and not knowing how to communicate with each other. So in due course, she stopped seeing him, and that led us into many, many, many years of no contact. And I never realized how much her emotions were in turmoil beneath the surface. She's one of those people, you know, that keeps her cards very close to her chest. Life just ticked on. She had her own baby, my first granddaughter, who looks just like her mother did when she was a baby and a toddler. And the other day I was round at her house. This is really helping, ladies. It's really helping. And we were talking about family. We were talking about all of the people that had passed away in our family and my childhood and our difficulties. You know, it was great to be able to communicate openly like that with your daughter. And then I mentioned her father, and straight away there were tears in her eyes. And I very quickly realized that something needed to be done now, because there was so much unresolved, difficult emotions in her, that we ought not to just leave it, because she probably would never see him again. And the reason I say that is because I've been aware that over the last couple of years, his health has taken a real nosedive, life-limiting problems. So I said to her, why are you so upset? Try and explain it to me. She said, bless her heart, you know, that if he was ill and unwell, that she would want to help him. I was surprised to hear that, ladies. Maybe I just wasn't thinking straight, and we don't know everything. I was expecting her to want something from him, you know, like closure or an explanation or even a relationship. But, you know, she didn't. What she really wanted was to give him something. So I picked up my phone straight away and I dialed his number, and he answered, thank goodness, because sometimes he didn't answer. And I very quickly explained that we wanted to come and visit. We live about 2 hours away. And thankfully this time he said yes, because on previous occasions he said he wasn't up to it. He said yes, and we made a date. And that has been what was on my mind this morning when I woke up, which I'm now sharing with you whilst having this much needed drink, because I need to brace myself for this. We haven't seen him for so long. We have puff pastry with chocolate and sugar. We have a layer of a chocolate spread on top, a layer of cream topped off with this raspberry. This is an oasis of pleasure in my day. Do you think that when you're cooking a lot, you kind of lose your appetite? I hardly ate anything. I think I had a couple of these and I thought they were utterly bland. But really, they're delectable. I'm going to finish this, do the house. Thank you for listening to me and allowing me to sort out my thoughts and feelings about this story and frame it and put it into perspective. Here's to you, and I will see you tomorrow.